What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. We're here with another video for 21 Sharp, the very questionable, very weird new rimfire cartridge from Winchester. So as you gathered from the thumbnail and the title, we will be testing 21 Sharp, the new rimfire cartridge, out of this Savage Mark II. We're going to be testing that against various 22 rimfire loads, 22 long rifle rimfire loads. They're both rimfire, but one's a 22 and one's a 21. Now, real quick, just to explain the difference, we have a 22 long rifle on the left and we have a 21 Sharp on the right. They both utilize the 22 long rifle casing. They're both rimfire, so exact same casing, except for the 21 Sharp has a non-heeled bullet, therefore making it 21 caliber instead of the one on the left, which has a heel, making it 22. So what the heel is the heel is a little bit of a recess part or a squished down part of that bullet that goes into the casing, and then the casing kind of spills over like a mushroom top or a muffin top, and it fills up and makes the casing and the bullet the same 22 diameter. You can see that over here on the 21 Sharp. It's kind of like a 21 or 22 Magnum, where you actually have the projectile smaller than the casing. Now, there's various reasons this might be beneficial to do that or not, but we won't get into that into this video. We're just going to go ahead and compare the performance of this 21 Sharp. This particular one is a 25 grain copper matrix, in other words, compressed copper, I believe, and it's a game and target load. So you can use it for target, supposedly, but it's also a green or lead-free option for hunting, maybe in places where you're restricted and you're not supposed to use lead, or maybe in the future they're going to come up with places that you're not supposed to use lead for any kind of hunting, but particularly small game hunting. Or maybe you're just a person who wants to be green, lead-free, and maybe you don't want the lead in your meat. For whatever reason, they do market it as a game load. So, of course, we're going to put it into ballistics gel. We have two blocks here, two 20-inch blocks of 10% clear ballistics gel. I don't know if any of these are going to make it through 20 inches, but we always have enough to make sure. We're going to put this up against a whole bunch of 22 long rifle cartridges. I'll name them off here in a second, but we want to see if we get any actual performance difference out of this compared to 22. So forget all the reasons that exist. We just want to know if it's any better at doing anything than the 22. At least this particular loading. There's supposedly at least 3 other loadings that are supposed to be coming out on the market very soon from Winchester. I don't know who else is going to pick up production of this ammo. So the rifle we're going to be using today for comparison is the Remington Viper 522. It's an old school rifle. It's an old polymer rifle from when I was a kid. I love this thing. I've been using this thing forever to keep things out of my garden. This thing has taken hundreds of animals. I usually run CCI mini mags. The hollow points through it. You have the target or the hollow point. Of course, I use the varmint, the hollow point, and that does a pretty good job on game. It's pretty hard to beat that round in general. But let's see what these other rounds do, and then definitely what this target game load does from the 21 Sharp. So starting with the 21 Sharp, the star of the show, we have a 25 grain copper matrix. So that's a flat pointed bullet, no hollow point involved at all. That's going at a muzzle velocity advertised on the box at 1750. Then moving on to the 22, we're going to start off with Winchester M22. This is a 40 grain black copper plated round nose bullet going at an advertised velocity of 1255. We have the CCI Mini Mag hollow point. That's a 36 grain varmint tip or hollow point going at 1260 feet per second. Like I said, very good, tried, true round right there. If your gun won't run on a CCI Mini Mag, it usually won't run on anything. Now we have kind of a hot one here. This is a CCI Stinger. This is a copper plated hollow point going at 1640, and it's a 32 grain projectile. Definitely a little bit of an in-between 22 and 22 Magnum type of thing right here. Then we have the classic 22 Thunderbolt. That's 1255 feet per second on a 40 grain round nose lead projectile. Then we're going to throw in the little 22 Short. That's a 29 grain bullet going at 1095. Standing next to a 22 long rifle, you can see just how short it is. That one's also from Remington. Then we have another pretty much classic. We have a Remington Golden Bullet. That's another 1255 feet per second, 40 grain projectile, round nose, gold plated. And another interesting one, Remington Viper Hyper Velocity 22 long rifle, truncated cone. You can see it's got a flat point on it. So if anything's going to act like this 21 sharp, it might be this projectile right here. It's a 36 grain projectile moving at 1410 on the box. Then we're going to go for a slow mover. This may or may not open up. This is a 1,050 feet per second moving 40 grain projectile subsonic Remington, and it's got a hollow point. Like I said, it may or may not open up. We're going to run all those over the Garmin and hopefully it picks them up. And as we try to make an organized mess of that Joe block right there, we'll be going through the Caldwell. So hopefully we get some good data, we get some good visuals, and a good comparison in general. Testing explained, enough talking, let's get to shooting. All right, we're going to be putting a lot of shots into this Joe block. So I do have a piece of target up there that I'm shooting at. I'm taking tester shots or zeroing shots just to know exactly where my impacts will be so I don't screw it up on the gel. The last one we did just take with this 21 sharp is 1821.1 on the Garmin. So going to a fresh round, I'm going to try to put this one to a very good place in the block. I'll start this one left and high, and we'll get a good visual on the 21, and then we'll start comparing. I got to completely get flat for these, so I went a little lower than I wanted it to. We had an error in the chronograph, but we did have 1887.7 on the Garmin. We could have been a little bit left for the chronograph, but I'm not sure. Maybe the copper played funny stuff with it, or the sunshades. Let's go take a look. Well, I'll be darned. The little bugger cleared both of these Joe blocks, 40 inches. We're going to have to bring out another block at the end to go ahead and figure out exactly how deep it will be. I heard that it could go through 40 inches of Joe block. I didn't believe it, but wow, that one did. So starting at the beginning, it's just a little bit of a disruptive wound channel the whole way. It stays steady. It does the same type of disruption all the way down. It actually travels pretty darn flat. Now that block is a catcher block, so we didn't expect to have to try to look through too much stuff. I didn't think it would go this deep, but there you go. You can still see it. It's in between this and this. It's traveling right there. You can see it's just doing the same thing the whole way. It might be settling down a little bit once it got into this block. Right before it left that block right there, it seemed to have a little bit more of a disturbance. And then, yeah, it just completely exited that block. This is a used block, so it does have that strike there and wherever, but that's the hole from that one. It went over there, and I believe what it did was it bounced off of this piece of wood right here, and it's laying around here somewhere. But yeah, the little bugger actually went ahead and zipped through 2 blocks. That's pretty crazy. So it'll definitely make it through your average chipmunk and squirrel and things like that as I knock over a whole camera stand type of thing. But very impressive. Let's take a look from the top real quick. And we don't have the best angle here from the top. It's going to be kind of hard because of our lighting, but we do have a little bit of a charring effect in that block too. So it did do that actual compression, combustion thing, whatever. Zipped its way all the way down through these blocks. And then you're going to lose it here with the track of the other one, but you know where it ended up. So pretty darn impressive. You can see the end of the track right there, that line. Wow, okay, pretty cool. All right, Winchester M22 is the first 22 selection. And I think we got where we wanted. We had 11:45 on the Garmin and 11:39 down there on the Caldwell. Let's take a look. All right, we're actually going to use the tape measure now since this one did not make it all the way out of the blocks. This one stopped at, I would say, 15.5, actually probably touched 16 inches. Has a bounce back where it's landed at 15 inches. I believe it's landed backwards, not totally sure. But we do have a little bit of a disruptive path there, more of a disruptive path that is still a flat or a round nose bullet, not a flat nose. So it's a round nose bullet. I'm sure it did a tumble or two right there. So compared to the 21 Sharp, it has more disruption. It has about the same exact type of entrance wound. It looks like it spirals right there a little bit. But then starting at the 5-inch and ending at about the 11-inch mark, it's got a pretty good disruption. Settles down there. And then, like I said, settles at 15 inches back from a 16-inch bounce back. So not too bad, but definitely not 40 inches like that sailing through. All right, next up, I'm going to stay with the round nose for now. 22 Thunderbolt, 40 grains. Now I got to try to get real low and try not to bounce off the bottom. So excuse me if I do, but Hopefully I did that right. I'm not really sure. We did not catch it on the Garmin, but we got 1198 out of the Caldwell. So there we go. We got 3 so far stuffed in there without too much problem. This one did reach the end of the block, so we don't have to measure too much. It says 20.5 inches. It might have stretched the block out just a little bit as they sit around, or the tape might be a little wonky and stretched out itself too. But starting at the very beginning, we have a little bit of a calmer entrance, but then you still see the same kind of, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. You see this spirally effect from each one of these, and they could have something to do with twist rate or whatever, but you definitely see it. So it just starts a little bit later here on the Thunderbolt. But, you know, Thunderbolt gets a pretty bad rap as being crap ammo. I can tell you, though, for sure, I have shot a lot of animals as a kid. We used to go squirrel hunting and hit chipmunks and everything, rabbits, anything you can imagine we'd shoot with Thunderbolts because they're cheap. You could buy a brick for next to nothing, and it would last you all day, you and your friends. So that made it to the end of that block. It didn't squeeze into the next one, though. It really is resting at 20 inches or 20.5 if you want to go ahead and call it that. But just a very consistent, round-nosed, 22 long rifle. Nothing super impressive, but will do some damage. Classic type of a bullet. Next up is going to be the Remington Golden Bullet. It's another round nose, so I'm going to try to get this one right at the top edge of the block without going out of it. We'll see what happens. All right, like I said, this one might be tricky, but yep, that didn't work out. Well, as you might have noticed, I hit the concrete block behind us, so something went really wonky with that shot. I better go ahead and use my zeroing target real quick. And it lands with the rest of it. So, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and take a shot at the top of that block. I can't believe that other one went that high. That's pretty wonky. It might have actually skipped off the block, not sure. All right, hopefully we stayed in there. Still nothing on the Garmin. We got 1201 downrange. Well, we got that one right where I didn't want it, right next to the 21 Sharp, but we're going to be able to see the difference. They do separate out, and we have done videos where we show it doesn't really affect it too bad. Let's look at it from the side. Eventually we'll get the top view, but you're not going to be able to separate it out too well. I'll maybe try to take another shot if we have some room at the end, but we did see that that did something different. That one took a nosedive, so we can follow that track back up like that into that big old thing that wasn't there before when it was just the 21 Sharp. Remember, it wasn't like that. So we have some charred burning stuff, some disruption. We have the same kind of an entrance. It really was absolutely parallel, or yeah, parallel, horizontal, whatever, to the 21 Sharp. Now it took a nosedive and it is backwards. It's landed at, let me line up the camera. I think we're lined up to about 17 inches. It might not look like that. I don't see a piercing bounce back or anything like that. The two tracks definitely are separated. You see the charred one from the 21 Sharp, and then the other one is right underneath it. So they are separated, and you can see how that one turns into something totally different. So it's a little bit close, but that's what we got to do, shoving all these different rounds into that block. All right, we might come back to the Golden Bullet, but for now, let's move on to the 22 Viper. All right, 22 Viper. I'm going to aim high in that block, but I'm going to start walking it over a little bit. This Garmin just won't pick it up. Maybe I got it on the wrong setting like always. 1256 downrange on the Caldwell, though. Let's go take a look. All right, we hit in a pretty good spot. We hit right there. And it actually leaves us pretty good room to look if we look from right about that angle. Nothing super crazy. There's, you know, your typical 22 right there. It's a truncated flat point type of thing. No hollow point to expand into anything crazy. It's landed backwards right there. You still see the copper color. And if we line it up right with the tape measure perfectly, I'd say it's landed at 18 3/4 inches. I can see a tiny bit of bounce back from 19. But yeah, just a very common 22 type of a track through the gel. Disruption in the beginning and then piercing as it goes down, not too bad at all. So before we move on to any hollow points, let's give the 22 short a try. All right, 22 shorty short. That sounded very underwhelming. 987 down there on the Caldwell, so at least we know it's not still in the barrel. And this is absolutely why we do testing. We learn new things every day. So there's that entrance right there. So keep an eye on that. That translates to that wound track right there. And as we follow it, we can see it go down. And you're not seeing much because it's not showing much. To the naked eye, you really can't see much. It went ahead down, and it's, I think, riding the bottom of that block because I can see a faint line of it. I don't know why we had a smudge right there, but we did, and it kind of bounced up just a hair, and it's landed right there. So that 22 short with barely any velocity compared to the rest of them, at 29.5 inches, it's landed right there. I can promise you, I'll tell you if it's something different. I might pick up the block here just to double check. It absolutely is down there. It did that. It followed that exact track, scooted across the bottom, came up just a little bit, right about, not right there, right there. Nuts. So we'll take that out a little bit. That's another one we may shoot again just to see what happens, but pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and throw another short in there right now just because I want to know about penetration. It's going to clog up the left side a little bit, but that's all right. Nothing's on the Garmin 933 downrange. All right, there's a little bit of a different result. We got the projectile landed at about 10.25 inches with a bounce back from 10.5. I was going to say, that's kind of weird. It almost made it maybe 10.75, which is a big deal. If you guys can't see it, it's right there. I'll try to focus. See the little tiny golden part of the bullet. So it has actually a very mild wound track. It's hard to follow back. We did put it in the middle of a bunch of stuff, but just very piercing wound channel, nothing crazy to look at. So I'm trying to get an angle for you, but just really not much to look at anyway. I wanted to see penetration, and there we go. There we got it. Let's move on to another one that I don't expect a whole lot of performance out of, and that is the Remington Subsonic. And even though it has a hollow point, the Subsonic just doesn't let it do a whole lot. So let's see what this does. All right, Remington Subsonic. Let's see what this does. And hopefully I can find it in that block somewhere. That says 911, nothing on the Garmin. All right, this wound track is low and it's in that bunch right there. So when you come around the corner, another one that's not going to show you too much. I can tell you, you're not going to be able to see it right now. It's at 14 inches and it's landed right there. I'll show you from the top. It bounces up. It follows this little streak right here, and that streak goes back to the beginning. It's nothing more than a streak. I know I'm not showing you guys good pictures here, but I can only put so much in one block. If you do look at it from the top, you can instantly see a clear picture of where it's just resting down there. Try to focus, and you can see it right there. Totally just resting. Don't think it opened up. It tore a little bit of the cardboard down there. So it did make it out of the gel, just a hair at least, but nothing really as far as actual wound channel, not very impressive. So yeah, it's a subsonic that doesn't open up, and that's where it landed. All right, on to the Mini Mag hollow point. I'll bring this one over to the right side of the gel block a little bit so you can see the disruption that this one will probably make. All right, CCI Mini Mag, downrange. That should have been good, I think. Nothing on the Garmin. Today's a fail day for Garmin. Glad we're not doing Garmin review, or at least my use of the Garmin. 1267 for the Caldwell. All right, there's our Mini Mag at 11 inches, a bounce back from about 11.5 inches. I'm pretty sure that thing opened up, and there you go. It has its little wound track right there. You have to separate it out from the one behind it, but that is the Mini Mag wound track. I see a little bit of burning action right there, little twisting, turning action, and then it settles down just a little bit before it lands there at the 11-inch mark or around there. So I've used this on varmints many times. It definitely, that initial part you see, that disturbance, that definitely happens in little things. So doesn't extremely penetrate anything, but it will definitely do the job as a hollow point varmint round should. Now, an absolute favorite, and the last one we're doing today, other than maybe another shot with the sharps, is the Stinger 22 long rifle. This one will probably give a pretty good disturbance. All right, CCI Stinger. I'm going to put it pretty close to the Mini Mag, but there we go at 1462 down there. Finally, we got a reading on the Garmin for some reason. 1500.4 exactly, so it's pretty close to the Caldwell. I'd say that's accurate. And ouch, there you go. Stinger did what Stinger does and it stung. We got 8.5 inches, probably a bounce back from about 9 inches. There it is right there. Holy crap, there's a pretty good disturbance. More than the mini mag, maybe at certain points. I think it mushroomed out a little bit more. We'll see when we cut them out of there. But holy crap, yeah, so that's a good entrance right there. That I've used this a lot out of my Ruger Precision rimfire rifle, and it does a really good job. It's right in there in between a really good 22 round and a 22 Magnum round, but actually it's super comparable to 17 HMR when it comes to accuracy out there at 50 yards and what it can do to animals. It's not a 17 HMR, but it's close. So totally drastic difference there. I think that's a good one. I think that was a good one to end on. We were right there. We have with the CCI Stinger, we have a lot of disruption in the beginning. It has a lot of velocity, so it's dumping a little bit of an energy punch right there, but it lands very short. It lands shorter than the 22 short. It probably lands the shortest. But then if you change around the bullet design and add a little bit of extra velocity, you have a bullet from the 21 sharp that can smoke both of these gel blocks. I think we got to go get another catcher block out here. We're going to line up 3 blocks, shoot it again with a 21 sharp. I really don't care what the wound track looks like or where it goes. Probably center punch this thing and just see if we can catch it with another 20 inches of gel block. So very cool information. I like this. This is good stuff. I really didn't think 21 sharp would actually perform that well. Now, we didn't hit anything like bones or anything else like that, but as far as gel alone, pretty impressive. All right, so just so you guys know what I did, I have the first, the second. We're leaving those blocks there. We don't want to disturb anything. When I hit that concrete block, I created a mess here. We have a bunch of spray back of concrete. I brought out another used block because, like I said, it's a catching block. I didn't want to smash it up to that one, so there is a little bit of a gap, but we do have another 20 inches of 10% clear ballistics gel block. Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to actually put a board up behind this too, another one, just in case it zips to this one too. So that board right there has a clean face on it. We'll see if it hits it, but let's go ahead and take a shot. All right, I'm going to try to avoid another channel, try to give it a fair shot, but it's going to be towards the top right. Maybe, kind of ish. 1847 on that Garmin catch, and 1816 on that Caldwell catch. All right, I got it right there. There's the Stinger, and then there's that one. You can tell the char mark. That's what it does on the way in. And then therefore you can see it is that track right there. It's going to do its straight line effect. You're going to have to follow it. I'll follow it this time for you guys. I'll take you on a walk. So we go all the way down, out 1 block. That's 20 inches to the next block. You can barely see it. It loses all of its ability to be seen until it gets right there. Then boom, out of the 40 inches, goes into the next block. It's on top of that smeared and smudged stuff. And it actually does a tumble or something right there. So it has, like, at the very end, it even has some destructive capabilities. And then right there at the end, you're going to see it's backwards. It has a little bit of a piercing channel. And it has landed at roughly approximately, due to the squishiness of these blocks and the separation there between the second and third, I'm going to go ahead and call this one at 48.5 inches. I think that would be a fair number. So you can say 48 3/4, but not really 49. So there's the penetration level of that round, and it did turn around at the very end and land backwards. Pretty nuts that it made it through that much gel. We got almost 50 inches of gel out of that thing. That's pretty nuts. All right, so I've pulled out the important ones. The round nose ones aren't really going to do anything. They're not going to show you anything. They're not going to lose any weight. They're not going to expand. We know where they landed. So without making a whole mess, we're just going to pull out the ones that really count, in my opinion, and the ones that are pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum. So we have here on the left the CCI Mini Mag 40 grain. Then we have the Stinger, which is the 36 grain, I believe, 32 grain actually. And then we have the Winchester 21 Sharp at 25 grains. This bullet did not deform at all. It stayed its truncated nose, flat nose, whatever you want to call it. That thing did not deform. It just plowed right through the gel block. This one came apart, the 22 Stinger. That thing hit with enough velocity and enough energy where it did rip itself apart, but it mushroomed pretty well, and that's what puts the brakes on it. But that's also what dumps that energy into little critters. The 22 over here from CCI, the Mini Mag, the very famous one, it started to do the same kind of thing, shred itself a little bit. Definitely they make it out of the right mixture of hardness, antimony, whatever they put into their lead. They make it mushroom out beautifully. Same thing happens, like I said, with the Stinger. It just happens differently. It lost a lot of itself. So we'll weigh it. They have 2 different backings to them. the 21 Sharp. As you're going to see, everything is just solid about the 21 Sharp. On the scale, the mini mag is going to come in at 35.6 grains of retained weight. The Stinger is going to come in at 22.9 without its extra pieces, and then when we add the extra pieces, we're going to come in at 31.4. And I'm expecting this 21 Sharp to have been right there at 25 or somewhere close, 25.1. Good deal. The CCI Mini Mag comes in at 0.3975 inches. The CCI Stinger comes in at 0.3045 inches. And after getting squeezed through that barrel, the 21 Sharp comes out at 0.206 inches. Well, there you go. There's a whole bunch of information. I don't know what to do with much of it, except for now I understand 21 Sharp definitely does penetrate, at least that round. They're going to come up with other rounds, of course, but that one itself, I don't know exact perfect use for it, but pretty interesting. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. I think this is a surprise. I was told that this stuff, or we read somewhere, that it can definitely do this. However, seeing it is actually believing it, and wow, what a difference. And like I said, the two different sides of the story right there, between the ones that expand and put the brakes on and leave a permanent wound cavity there for you to look at, and then that one that just zips through things, almost 50 inches of gel block. A lot of handgun bullets just can't even do that as Full Metal Jacket handgun bullets. That's not to say the right ones won't, but some of this stuff is loaded pretty weak and it just doesn't act like that. But this little 25 grain cartridge loaded with a little pinch of powder behind it, wow, pretty impressive. Hope you enjoy what we've been doing with the 21 Sharp. It's kind of a confusing little cartridge for me, but maybe I like it a little bit better today. Thank you for watching this video and hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.